Us now on a beautiful day in Washington, D.C., outside the North Lawn. I want to start, though, with the Sheriff's Department in Florida, because this is a place where I know the White House has felt strongly. Is there any way that the White House might put its voice into the conversation? And what is the conversation going inside the White House about it?
Well, Harris, thanks a lot for having me on. The president has expressed his view on how the Sheriff's Department handled the situation, how local law enforcement handled the situation, and the deputies specifically. While it is a local matter on how these matters are actually handled at the state level, he feels very strongly that police officers are trained to serve and protect, and these individuals were derelict in their duty. And, you know, it speaks loudly about not just their handling of the situation that day, but in the weeks and months leading up to it, when there were dozens of warnings and red flags raised. When we have an individual who's identified to, pose a threat to public safety, pose a threat to their community or their school, we need law enforcement to act.
Yeah, you know, I also don't miss the point that, as you point out, it's a local matter, but the executive office, the leadership of this president has been called upon to help find solutions going forward to gun violence. So certainly we can understand why this would be a strong point with him. And as more indications come out that the reporting from the Sheriff's Department was at best messy and maybe untruthful, as we learned just how many times they'd been to the shooter's house.
Right. Look, there are a lot of problems. The more and more we learn about what happened in the weeks and months leading up to this incident, the more troubling the picture that's painted is. I think there's more investigation to go on. There's more facts to be uncovered. But right now you see a department that dropped the ball, a sheriff that dropped the ball, and a overall police response that was woefully inadequate and really did a disservice to these young children who are going to school.
Yeah. One last question on this, because I interviewed the superintendent of schools down in Parkland, Mr. Runcie, and I said, these are the same individuals, some of them, who are being called upon to protect the school. He pointed out it's not the entire Sheriff's Department, but it is the same leadership, which is what I pointed out. Last thought, if you have one, otherwise we'll move on.
Well, I would just say you did show one police officer who made the arrest. This shouldn't be a stain on, the hundreds of thousands really of really hardworking, qualified, dedicated, and brave law enforcement personnel in federal, state, and local agencies across this country. We expect them to do their jobs and to perform, frankly, differently in a similar circumstance.
And I want to now touch on the apparent situation that the president, it's being reported, has backed off that age restriction that would have bumped it up to 21 years old for long guns. What's the word out of the White House on that? Why is he doing that?
I don't know where that reporting is coming from. The president still believes in a age 21 limit for the purchase of semi-automatic weapons. His approach to this is that measure, along with fixing the background check system, strengthening it so that way more streams of information, court information and other information is made available. Also looking at hardening schools and arming trained personnel within schools, whether they be teachers or other personnel, as well as what he has talked about and ordered the Department of Justice to do, which is ban the sale of new bump stocks. So he is looking at this from several fronts, and the age limit that you mentioned is still part of the equation.
So you're calling that misreporting, and I also heard a little bit of, so that's news. The other news is he's still willing to go forward on his own with bump stocks without Congress. Yes or no? Yes.
Yes, he is. Yeah. That's correct.
White House Communications Director Hope Hicks, right now, or at least last report in the last hour, is behind closed doors giving testimony with the House Intelligence Committee. What can you tell me about the journey with this, what you anticipate she's being asked, and whether or not the White House will exact any sort of executive privilege here with her questions?
Well, I won't comment on her interactions with the committee. I will say that the White House has been cooperating with both the special counsel and the House Intelligence Committee's inquiries. We're being fully cooperative because, as a White House, the president has said repeatedly there was no collusion, there's no obstruction, there's going to be no finding of wrongdoing. So we're happy to cooperate with them. We know this committee and its minority, led by Adam Schiff, has been engaged in politically motivated and selective leaks. We think that's very unfortunate and hope that doesn't occur in this instance. But beyond that, I can't comment further. All
right. Is White House counsel along with her? Or are they giving guidance? We know previously that has happened.
I know she's with her counsel, but beyond that, I can't comment further.
All right. Drudge is reporting that the president is going to run again in 2020. I don't know that you necessarily needed Drudge to do it, although they did a fabulous job of rolling it out. Because if you saw the president's CPAC speech, You saw a lot of those points that he wanted to hit. Talk to me about reaching the decision for the president to run for re-election.
Well, I want to separate what the White House is doing from what the campaign apparatus and others are doing. I know Brad Parscale, who was announced as the campaign manager from the first campaign. He did a great job then. I'm sure he'll do a great job going forward. But I think that the case that the president has to make, that the campaign will have to make, is going to be a lot easier because of the great work that he's done so far in this first year. We have a booming economy, which unemployment you have at a near two-decade low. You saw consumer confidence hit a new high today. We have, on issue after issue, a lot of success. We have ISIS being crushed. You have the remaking of the federal judiciary. I mean, the president went on for well over an hour at CPAC because he has so much good news to talk about. So we think that we're focused on the legislative agenda over the next few months and going into 2018. But with the eye toward 2020, the president has a lot of great things to talk about that he's achieved, that this Republican Congress has achieved, and that he can make the case to the American people on.
Yeah, it's interesting because what you're talking about is like a bird in the hand concept. These are the places where he's winning right now. But still, it's a year earlier than most would, and certainly his competitors across the political aisle. Why so early with the announcement?
Well, I think you'd have to ask the campaign about the timing of the announcement, but I would just say that this president has a tremendous amount of accomplishments, a lot to talk about, so why not get started early?
You mentioned Brad Parscale and where he's going forward. Are there members of the current team, any of you, who are being talked about as being part of going forward in 2020 as part of that campaign?
Well, not that I'm aware of. I think there is plenty of time, as you stated, for those conversations to happen. Right now, we're focused on getting this president's legislative agenda forward. We're focused on infrastructure. We're focused on school safety. And we're focused on a whole lot of other measures that can help get this economy moving, keep this country safe and strong and prosperous.
You may have heard there's a little bit of a divide in the Democrat Party. So hitting it now might also give you a little bit of an advantage, I would imagine. Your last word.
Well, I would just say that, as the president has said, the Republican Party is very unified behind this president and unified behind this agenda. And I think on issue after issue, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's immigration, whether it's school safety, the president is reaching across the aisle, showing leadership, and, really generating a lot of support among the American people. And you're seeing the other side of the aisle, Democrats being very obstructionist in their approach. And we don't really think that the American people are going to reward that.
Well, you came back to school safety. Those children in Parkland, Florida, go back to school at Stoneman Douglas High School tomorrow. We can only hold them in our prayers and hope that enough has been done to make them feel. We know the perimeter will be safe, but we want them to feel that way, too. We appreciate you talking with us today on the program. Thank you, Raj.
Thank you.